This video features the installation of our street twin kit with the included flywheel. However, kits are available in different configurations based on the torque being produced at the crankshaft and your style of driving. The installation procedure will be the same except for the discs being used. For a complete list of kits with their full details and specifications, please visit our website. While we try and get all aspects of the removal and installation of our clutch and flywheel on video, there may be some items we might have missed. This video is made to provide the basics on how to replace a clutch and flywheel and is in no way intended to replace a factory service manual. Disconnect the negative battery cable and move it away from the terminal so that it does not make accidental contact. Unfasten and remove the front undercover assembly located below the engine oil pan. Unbolt and remove the center undercover assembly located below the transmission. Unfasten and remove the front stabilizer. Before removing the front and rear propeller shafts, be sure to mark all flanges for the propeller shafts, differentials, transfer case, and transmission so that the propeller shafts can be reinstalled in the same position. At the front propeller shaft, unfasten the front flange from the differential and the rear flange from the transfer case, and then remove the propeller shaft from under the vehicle. At the rear propeller shaft, unfasten the rear flange from the differential and the front flange from the transmission, and then remove the rear propeller shaft from under the vehicle. Unbolt the heat shield and slave cylinder from the transmission and move the slave cylinder out of the way. Do not open the hydraulic system. Unfasten the O2 sensor wire bracket from the transmission. Place the stand under the transmission to hold it up in place, and then unbolt and remove the transmission crossmember. Unbolt and remove the driver's side transmission mount isolator. Unfasten the bracket securing the exhaust and then remove the bracket. Not shown in the video, remove the passenger side transmission mount isolator. On the driver's side of the transfer case, unfasten and remove the heat shield for the transfer case control lever. On the driver's side of the transmission, remove the lower breather hoses from the breather pipes. Unfasten the breather pipes from the transmission. Not shown in the video, remove the upper breather hoses from the breather pipe and then remove the breather pipes from under the vehicle. Disengage all the electrical connectors from the transmission and transfer case. Inside the vehicle, remove the knobs from both the transmission and transfer case control levers. Unfasten the control and boot assembly console and lift it up to gain access underneath. Disconnect all electrical plugs and then remove the control and boot assembly console. Unbolt and remove the transmission hole cover and boot assembly. Remove the transmission gear shift lever. Unbolt the lower starter bolt, unfasten all the starter wiring, and disengage the electrical connector. Unbolt the top starter bolt and remove the starter. Unfasten and remove both O2 sensors from the exhaust. Unbolt the exhaust flanges at the front of the exhaust. Unbolt the rear flange of the catalytic converter and then remove the front portion of the exhaust. Unfasten and remove the front exhaust heat shield. Unbolt and remove the transfer case control lever. Not shown in the video, disconnect the plug and remove the crankshaft position sensor located at the top of the bell housing. Remove the lower bell housing bolts and then place a jack under the transmission. Remove the remaining bell housing bolts and separate the transmission from the engine. Making sure everything has been disconnected, slowly lower the transmission and transfer case assembly. Unbolt and remove the old pressure plate and disc. Unbolt and remove the old flywheel, making sure the flywheel spacer does not remain on the crankshaft. The spacer is not needed with the ACT flywheel. Making sure the crankshaft mounting surface is clean and free of burbs, place the flywheel up into position and install new OEM flywheel bolts. Tighten the bolts in a star pattern until snug and then torque them to the factory specifications. Make sure to clean both sides of the floater and the flywheel friction surface using a non-petroleum based cleaner. Double check that the proper number of spacers and shims are installed on the flywheel. Install the bottom disc onto the flywheel, holding it in place with the alignment tool. With a small amount of thread locking compound on the bolts, align the balance marks on the floater with the balance marks on the flywheel, and then install the floater over the bottom disc and tighten the bolts to 24 foot-pounds. Remove the alignment tool. Install the top disc onto the floater, holding it in place with the alignment tool. Clean the pressure plate friction surface using a non-petroleum based cleaner. Place the pressure plate in position over the top disc, making sure to align the balance marks with the floater and flywheel balance marks. Install the nuts and tighten them gradually in a star pattern until the pressure plate is bottomed out against the shims. Install the alignment tool to ensure the discs are still lined up. Torque the pressure plate nuts in a star pattern to 50 foot-pounds and remove the alignment tool. Remove the release bearing and sleeve assembly from the release lever. Not shown in the video, clean the input shaft, guide tube, release lever, and pivot ball of any dirt, grease, or grime. Place a small amount of lube on the pivot ball, input shaft splines, pilot, guide tube, and release lever pivot surfaces. Remove the old bearing from the clutch release sleeve using a press and install a new bearing onto the sleeve. Reinstall the spring onto the sleeve if it was removed. Install the release bearing and sleeve assembly onto the release lever. Install the bearing and sleeve assembly as well as the release lever back into position onto the transmission, making sure the retainer spring in the release lever engages the pivot ball correctly. Test the assembly for proper operation. Lift the transmission back into place, making sure nothing gets pinched between the transmission and engine. Install the bell housing bolts and tighten them to the factory specifications. Not shown in the video, install the crankshaft position sensor located at the top of the bell housing and reconnect the plug. Install the transmission mount isolators and the bracket securing the exhaust. Tighten the hardware. Install the transmission cross member and tighten the hardware to the factory specifications. Place a small amount of lube onto the slave cylinder rod and the release lever cup. Install the slave cylinder and heat shield, then tighten the hardware. Place the starter in position and tighten the hardware. Install all the starter wiring and engage the electrical connector. Engage all the electrical connectors to the transmission and transfer case. Install the breather pipes onto the transmission and tighten the hardware. Install the upper breather hoses to the breather pipes and install any vacuum or vent hoses that may have been removed from the top of the transmission or transfer case. Place the transfer case control lever in position and secure it with the hardware. Then install the heat shield and tighten the hardware. Place the front portion of the exhaust in position. Install a new gasket at the rear flange of the catalytic converter and loosely install the hardware. Install and tighten the hardware at the front flanges. Install and tighten the hardware for the brackets securing the exhaust. Tighten the hardware at the rear flange of the catalytic converter. Install the front exhaust heat shield. Install and secure the lower breather hoses onto the breather pipes. Install and tighten both O2 sensors back into the exhaust. Making sure to align the marks made during disassembly, place the front of the rear drive shaft onto the transmission flange and install the hardware. Then place the rear of the drive shaft onto the pinion flange and install the hardware. Tighten all the hardware to the manufacturer's specifications. Making sure to align the marks made during disassembly, place the front drive shaft onto the pinion flange and install the hardware. Then place the rear of the drive shaft onto the transfer case flange, installing the hardware. Tighten all the hardware to the manufacturer's specifications. Install the front stabilizer and tighten the hardware. Install the front undercover assembly located below the engine oil pan and tighten the hardware. Install the center undercover assembly located below the transmission and tighten the hardware. Install the transmission gear shift lever. Install the transmission hole cover and boot assembly and tighten the hardware. Connect all the electrical plugs, install the control and boot assembly console, and tighten the hardware. Install the knobs for both the transfer case and the transmission control levers. Reconnect the negative battery cable and tighten the hardware. For more information on our products or parts featured in this video, please visit our website. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching.